There comes a moment in every life, a quiet moment, when the noise fades, when distractions fall silent, when the applause of the world no longer satisfies, and a deeper question rises. Is this all I am capable of becoming? Not what I have, not what I appear to be, but what I am becoming from the inside. Because beneath every ambition, beneath every goal, beneath every pursuit of wealth, success, and recognition, there is something more fundamental: character, discipline, self-mastery. We live in an age of speed, instant answers, instant gratification, instant visibility. But there is nothing instant about greatness. Civilizations were not built instantly. Reputations were not earned instantly. Strength was not formed instantly. And the strongest individuals in history were not shaped by comfort, but by discipline, not by applause, but by perseverance, not by inheritance, but by effort. This audiobook is not a promise of shortcuts. It is not motivation for a day. It is not excitement that fades tomorrow. It is an invitation to rebuild from within, to examine the architecture of your habits, to confront the comfort that weakens you, to rediscover the power that already exists inside you. Because self-help, true self-help, is not about external tricks. It is about internal transformation. Ask yourself, what determines a life? Is it talent? Many are talented. Is it opportunity? Many are presented with opportunity. Is it intelligence? Many are intelligent, and yet few become enduringly great. Why? Because greatness is not a gift, it is constructed. Through daily decisions, through invisible discipline, through continued effort when quitting feels logical. Somewhere inside you there is unused strength, unused courage, unused potential, not because you lack ability, but because you have not yet demanded it from yourself. And this journey is a demand for higher standards, a demand for personal responsibility, a demand for consistency in a world addicted to distraction. Over the next chapters, we will explore the power of industry, the law of perseverance, the discipline of self-culture, the mastery of wealth, the responsibility of influence, and ultimately, the construction of character. Not as theory, but as practice, not as inspiration, but as structure, because structure sustains, emotion fades, structure remains. Imagine a version of yourself 5 years from now, disciplined, calm under pressure, financially controlled, mentally sharp, morally grounded, influential without arrogance, respected without demanding respect. That version is not fantasy, it is consequence, the consequence of habits chosen daily, the consequence of principles upheld consistently, the consequence of refusing mediocrity. But understand this clearly: no one can build it for you. No system can replace your effort. No motivation can substitute discipline. The revolution you seek externally begins internally, brick by brick, thought by thought, choice by choice. So as you listen, do not merely consume, reflect, pause, examine, challenge yourself, because this is not entertainment, it is reconstruction. And by the end of this journey, the question will no longer be, what can I achieve, but who have I become? Welcome to the discipline of self-mastery. Welcome to the architecture of character. Welcome to the revolution within. What if the true power that shapes a nation is not found in its laws, not in its rulers, not even in its institutions, but in the character of its people? History whispers a simple truth: heaven helps those who help themselves. And this is not merely a proverb, it is a law of life.
Every great civilization was built twice. First, in the mind of individuals, then in the world. No government can make a man disciplined. No law can make a man honest. No system can force greatness into a passive soul. Institutions may protect you, but only you can build yourself. And when individuals grow, nations rise. When individuals decay, nations crumble. This is the invisible equation of history. Take a moment and ask yourself, if your country improved tomorrow, would it be because you improved? Because ultimately, a nation is nothing more than millions of daily habits multiplied together. Throughout history, people have waited. They waited for better leaders. They waited for political change. They waited for opportunity. But opportunity rarely knocks. It responds. It responds to preparation. It responds to discipline. It responds to readiness. Over-guidance weakens. Over-dependence shrinks potential. When everything is done for you, you slowly lose the power to do for yourself. And the greatest slavery is not political oppression. It is the slavery of your own laziness, fear, or lack of self-control. You may not control your country, but you can control your effort, your habits, your discipline, your integrity. And self-government is the foundation of freedom. A man who cannot control himself will never truly be free, no matter how free his nation claims to be. Samuel Smiles observed something powerful. Governments are reflections of people, not the other way around. If citizens are strong, responsible, and upright, their institutions will eventually reflect it. If citizens are careless and corrupt, their systems will mirror that too. Water always finds its level, and so does society. We remember the generals, but wars are won by soldiers. We remember inventors, but industries are built by workers. We remember presidents, but economies are sustained by millions of disciplined individuals waking up early every day. Civilization is not built by heroes alone. It is built by quiet, consistent effort. And that effort starts at the individual level. Ask yourself, are you contributing strength or weakness to the collective future? Because every action echoes beyond you. The elegance of example. Education is not only found in schools. It is found at home, at work, in daily conduct, in how you respond to difficulty. Children learn more from what they see than from what they are told. Your example teaches more loudly than your words ever could. Self-help is contagious. So is mediocrity. Choose carefully which one you spread. Biographies. Why stories matter. There is a reason why we study great lives, because they remind us greatness is rarely born in comfort. It is forged in adversity. And here is a powerful pattern you will see again and again. Many of history's greatest minds came from humble beginnings, not because poverty creates genius, but because struggle creates strength. The hidden advantage of difficulty. When life is easy, discipline weakens. When life is hard, character grows. Obstacles awaken dormant powers. Pressure reveals resilience. And many who were born without wealth were forced to build something far more valuable: capacity. Transition to next chapter. In the next chapter, we will explore extraordinary individuals who rose from ordinary circumstances, not through luck, not through privilege, but through relentless effort. Because self-help is not a slogan, it is a discipline. and discipline is destiny.
From obscurity to influence, the architecture of the self-made. History does not begin in palaces. It begins in workshops. It does not begin with inheritance. It begins with hunger. Not hunger for food, but hunger for growth. Look closely at the lives of the individuals who shaped the modern world. Again and again, you will notice something unsettling. They did not start ahead. They started behind. The myth of advantage. We live in an age obsessed with advantage. Better schools, better connections, better opportunities. And yet history whispers a different truth. Advantage does not create greatness. Pressure does. The young boy who studies under street lamps, the apprentice who works 12 hours and reads at night, the worker who saves coins instead of spending them. These are not disadvantages, they are training grounds. Reflection pause. Ask yourself, have you mistaken comfort for progress? Because comfort rarely builds power. The furnace of limitation. Many of the strongest minds in history were forged in environments of restriction, not because suffering is noble, but because restriction forces resourcefulness. When you cannot afford distraction, you focus. When you cannot afford waste, you learn precision. When you cannot rely on help, you develop independence. And independence is the seed of influence. The silent years no one sees. The world only sees the summit. It does not see the climb. It does not see the rejected drafts, the failed experiments, the ridicule, the doubt. But the self-made individual understands something crucial. Visibility is not validation. Progress happens in obscurity. Character is built in silence. The pattern of every builder. Study inventors, study artists, study leaders. You will see a repeating pattern. 1. Curiosity. 2. Obsession. 3. Relentless repetition. 4. Long seasons without recognition. And then, suddenly, the world calls them brilliant. But brilliance with simply consistency extended over time. Reflection pause. What are you practicing daily that will look like genius in 10 years? Opportunity recognized, not given. We often complain about lack of opportunity. But what is opportunity? It is not a perfect opening. It is a prepared mind meeting a moment. Two people can stand before the same door. One sees risk, the other sees possibility. The difference is internal, not external. The self-made do not wait for permission. They prepare relentlessly until the moment arrives, and when it does, they are ready. The discipline of self-reliance. Self-reliance does not mean isolation. It means responsibility. It means refusing to blame, refusing to postpone growth, refusing to outsource your future. It is easier to criticize systems, harder to build skill. It is easier to demand change, harder to embody it. But only one path leads to power. The hidden psychological shift. There is a moment in every self-made life when the mindset changes from "why is this happening to me?" to "what can I build from this?" That shift changes everything because it transfers power from circumstances to character. Reflection pause.
When difficulty appears in your life, do you shrink? Or do you ask, what is this training me to become? Obscurity is not insignificance. Some of the greatest contributors to civilization were unknown for most of their lives. They labored quietly. They refined skills privately. They improved themselves consistently, and slowly their competence became undeniable. The world respects undeniable competence, not noise, not complaints, not entitlement. Competence. The long game. The self-made individual plays a long game, years, sometimes decades, not chasing applause, but building foundation. And foundation is invisible until the structure rises. Your starting point does not imprison you. Your excuses do. Your background does not define your ceiling. Your discipline does. And the architecture of the self-made is not built in a day. It is constructed in daily decisions that no one applauds. Until they must.
Industry, the discipline that builds civilizations. Cities are not built by ideas alone. They are built by hands. Bridges are not constructed by dreams. They are constructed by repetition. Civilization itself, every road, every engine, every institution, stands on one invisible pillar: industry. Not inspiration, not talent, not luck. Industry. The steady, disciplined application of effort over time. The misunderstood power of work. In modern culture, work is often portrayed as something to escape, something temporary, something tolerable, something endured only until success arrives. But history presents a different image. Work is not punishment. Work is formation. It forms patience. It forms precision. It forms resilience. It forms identity. Without work, potential remains theory. With work, potential becomes structure. Reflection pause. Do you see your work as a burden or as a workshop shaping who you are becoming? Because your perspective determines your growth. The dignity of craftsmanship. There was a time when craftsmanship was sacred. A blacksmith did not merely shape metal, he shaped reliability. An engineer did not merely design mechanisms, he shaped progress. An artisan did not merely carve wood, he carved reputation. The dignity of work lies not in its visibility, but in its standard. The self-made individual refuses careless effort, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Genius is sustained attention. We romanticize genius as lightning, but in reality, it is more like fire, maintained, fed, protected. James Watt refined the steam engine not in one flash of brilliance, but through relentless correction, adjustment after adjustment, test after test, failure after failure. He did not merely invent, he persisted, and persistence turned potential into revolution. Reflection pause. Where in your life are you expecting instant mastery when the law of growth demands repetition? The silent strength of routine. Routine does not excite the ego, but it strengthens the mind. Waking early, studying consistently, improving gradually, practicing deliberately. Routine builds invisible muscles: discipline, focus, reliability. and reliability is rarer than talent. Many are talented, few are dependable. Civilizations are sustained by the dependable. Work as character training. There is something profound about consistent labor. It reveals weaknesses. Impatience surfaces, pride surfaces, excuses surface, and in that exposure, refinement becomes possible. Work does not only produce results, it produces self-awareness. It confronts you with yourself, and that confrontation, if embraced, builds character. The danger of half-effort. Half-effort produces fragile results, and fragile results collapse under pressure. The self-made individual understands something critical. If a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing well. Excellence compounds, so does mediocrity. Every careless act trains you in carelessness. Every disciplined act trains you in strength. You are always practicing something. The question is, what? Reflection pause. If someone studied your daily habits, what would they conclude about your future? Industry and freedom. Paradoxically, discipline creates freedom. The disciplined student earns options. The disciplined worker earns trust. The disciplined entrepreneur earns autonomy, while the undisciplined remain dependent. Dependency is rarely imposed. It is often developed through inconsistency, through distraction, through comfort. Industry is not merely about money, it is about capability, and capability expands your choices. The builders behind the builders. We often celebrate leaders, but behind every leader stands a network of industrious individuals, engineers, writers, craftsmen, assistants, researchers, operators, the quiet contributors who mastered their roles. Civilization rests on millions of disciplined acts performed daily by people who may never become famous, and yet, without them, everything collapses. The long discipline. There is a reason many self-made individuals began as apprentices. Apprenticeship teaches humility. It teaches patience. It teaches gradual improvement. In a world addicted to speed, industry teaches endurance, and endurance wins long-term. Reflection pause. Are you chasing quick recognition or building lasting capacity? Because they rarely grow at the same pace. The spiritual dimension of work. Work shapes more than productivity. It shapes spirit. The person who completes what they begin develops internal authority. The person who keeps promises to themselves builds quiet confidence. And that confidence does not need applause. It is self-sustaining. When work feels invisible. There will be seasons when your effort seems unnoticed, unrewarded, unseen. But understand this. Invisible work is never wasted. It accumulates skill. It accumulates reputation. It accumulates internal strength. And when opportunity appears, preparation will speak louder than self-promotion. Closing movement, Part 3. Industry is not glamorous. It is not loud. It does not trend. But it builds nations. It builds families. It builds legacies. And most importantly, it builds you. So do not despise steady effort. Do not underestimate repetition. Do not mock routine. Because what you do daily is constructing the architecture of your future, brick by brick, habit by habit, decision by decision.
The law of perseverance. the strength to continue. There's a moment in every meaningful pursuit when excitement fades, when applause is absent, when progress slows and doubt grows louder than ambition. This moment, more than talent, more than intelligence, more than opportunity, determines destiny. Because success is rarely decided at the beginning. It is decided in the middle, in the long, quiet stretch where quitting feels reasonable. The misinterpretation of difficulty. Most people interpret difficulty as a warning sign, a signal to stop. But history interprets it differently. Difficulty is resistance, and resistance is proof of growth. Muscles grow under tension, character grows under pressure, skill sharpens under repetition. The path of ease rarely leads upward. It leads sideways or downward. Reflection pause. Think about something you once abandoned. Was it truly impossible or simply uncomfortable? Failure is feedback, not finality. The word failure carries unnecessary weight. It suggests finality, but in reality, failure is information. It reveals weakness. It exposes gaps. It clarifies direction. Thomas Edison tested thousands of variations before refining the light bulb. Each attempt was not defeat, it was data. The persistent mind reframes failure, not as I cannot, but as not yet. The psychological battle. Perseverance is not primarily physical, it is psychological. The body can endure more than the mind believes, but the mind negotiates comfort. It whispers, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should try something easier. Maybe you've reached your limit. And here lies the silent battlefield. Those who win it rarely speak of it, but they fight it daily. Reflection pause. When your inner voice suggests surrender, do you obey it or challenge it? The slow season. There will be seasons where effort seems disproportionate to results, where you work harder but see less progress. These seasons are dangerous because they test belief, yet they are necessary. Roots grow deeper before branches expand. Foundation strengthens before structure rises. If visible results came instantly, you would not develop endurance. And without endurance, you cannot sustain success. The cost of quitting too soon. Every unfinished project builds a habit of incompletion. Every abandoned goal trains the mind to escape resistance. Over time, this compounds, and the individual begins to doubt themselves, not because they lack ability, but because they lack follow-through. Perseverance builds self-trust, and self-trust is a powerful currency. The difference between stubbornness and perseverance. Perseverance is not blind repetition. It is intelligent continuation. It allows adaptation. It allows correction, but it refuses surrender. Stubbornness resists feedback. Perseverance learns from it. The disciplined individual adjusts strategy, but maintains commitment. Reflection pause.
Where in your life must you adjust your method, but not abandon your mission? History's strongest leaders were not shaped by ease. They were refined by opposition. Criticism sharpened them. Loss strengthened them. Delay matured them. Adversity strips away illusion. It reveals what you truly value, and it exposes the depth of your resolve. Without adversity, ambition remains shallow. The emotional weight of long-term pursuit. There is a loneliness in long-term pursuit.
Friends may not understand, support may fade, doubt may increase. But remember, extraordinary outcomes are rarely produced in crowded comfort zones. They are forged in isolated discipline, and solitude often precedes significance. Are you willing to endure temporary isolation for long-term impact? The compound effect of persistence. Small daily effort multiplied over time becomes unstoppable momentum. 5 extra pages a day, 1 extra hour of practice, 1 consistent improvement. Over months, over years, this compounds, and suddenly what once felt impossible becomes normal. Perseverance turns difficulty into familiarity. When to rest, not quit. There is a difference between quitting and recovering. Even the strongest must pause. Rest restores clarity. Rest prevents burnout. But rest is strategic. Quitting is surrender. The disciplined individual knows when to step back, but never steps away. The quiet confidence of the persistent. There is something unmistakable about someone who refuses to quit. A calm authority, a steady presence. They do not panic easily. They do not collapse under pressure, because they have survived resistance before. Perseverance builds internal stability, and stability builds influence. The law of perseverance is simple. Continue. Continue when it is boring. Continue when it is slow. Continue when it is unrecognized. Continue when it is difficult. Because most people stop, and the space beyond quitting is where greatness begins. Not dramatic greatness, but enduring greatness. And endurance is power.
School may end. Exams may end. Degrees may hang framed upon walls, but education, true education, never ends. Because the most powerful classroom is not made of walls, it is made of curiosity. And the most transformative teacher is not assigned to you, it is chosen by you. The difference between schooling and self-culture. Schooling gives information. Self-culture builds transformation. Schooling prepares you for a profession. Self-culture prepares you for life. Many finish their formal education and unknowingly begin their intellectual decline, not because they lack intelligence, but because they stop stretching it. The mind, like muscle, weakens when unused and grows stronger when challenged. Reflection pause. When was the last time you studied something without being required to, without grades, without pressure, simply because growth mattered to you? The responsibility of intellectual independence. One of the greatest freedoms you possess is the ability to choose what shapes your mind. What you read, what you watch, what you listen to, what you repeat. Every input leaves an imprint. The self-cultured individual does not consume randomly, they select intentionally. Because they understand what enters consistently eventually becomes identity. Reading is silent mentorship. Books are conversations across centuries. Within their pages live thinkers, builders, reformers, inventors, waiting. Waiting for someone disciplined enough to listen. When you read deeply, you borrow perspective, you expand mental territory, you sharpen judgment, and, most importantly, you learn to think beyond your immediate environment. Those who refuse to read confine themselves to their own limited experience. Those who read gain the experience of many lives. Reflection pause. If your current thinking produced your current results,
What new thinking must you expose yourself to in order to grow? The habit of thought. Self-culture is not only about input, it is about reflection. Many consume information, few digest it. To think deeply is rare. To question assumptions is rarer. To examine your own beliefs without ego is powerful. The disciplined mind pauses, asks, analyzes, refines, and slowly becomes independent. Curiosity as fuel. Curiosity is the engine of lifelong growth. The self-made mind asks, why does this work? How can this improve? What can I learn from this failure? What principle lies beneath this outcome? Curiosity prevents stagnation. It transforms ordinary experiences into lessons. It turns mistakes into instruction. It converts routine into refinement. The danger of intellectual comfort. It is tempting to stay within familiar ideas, to repeat the same thoughts, to agree only with what affirms us. But growth demands friction. Exposure to new disciplines, new philosophies, new challenges. The uncomfortable idea often contains the seed of expansion. Without intellectual stretching, mental rigidity forms, and rigidity limits opportunity. Reflection pause. Are you strengthening your perspective or protecting it? Time, the hidden curriculum. One of the greatest overlooked tools of self-culture is time management. Minutes accumulate, hours compound. A single hour daily invested in learning becomes 365 hours in a year. In 5 years, nearly 2,000 hours of growth. While others scroll endlessly, the disciplined individual compounds quietly. And compounding knowledge is a form of wealth. Character and mind are connected. Self-culture is not merely intellectual, it is moral. What you study shapes how you act. What you believe shapes how you decide. An educated mind without integrity becomes dangerous, but knowledge guided by character becomes constructive. The greatest figures in history combined intellect with discipline, because knowledge without control creates chaos, but knowledge with self-mastery creates influence. The role of solitude. Growth requires silence, moments without distraction, time to think, time to evaluate, time to question direction. Modern life resists silence, but silence strengthens clarity. In stillness, ideas settle, insights surface, convictions solidify. The self-cultured individual protects moments of quiet because clarity is born there. Reflection pause. When was the last time you sat alone without noise and examined your direction? From information to wisdom. Information is abundant, wisdom is rare. Information tells you what happened, wisdom tells you why. Information shows you facts, wisdom shows you patterns, and patterns guide decisions. Self-culture moves you from accumulation to understanding, from reaction to discernment, from impulse to intention. The long-term advantage. Years from now, the difference between individuals will not merely be opportunity, it will be depth. Depth of thought, depth of understanding, depth of character. And depth is built slowly. Daily reading, daily reflection, daily correction, daily humility. While others drift intellectually, the disciplined mind rises steadily. Final movement, Part 5. Your mind is your primary asset. Guard it, challenge it, feed it, refine it. Because no one can permanently take what you have deeply learned. Skills may fade, positions may change, but cultivated thought remains. And the individual who commits to lifelong self-culture never truly becomes obsolete. They evolve, they adapt, they expand. And expansion is power.
Energy, courage, and moral strength. The fire within. There are intelligent people who never act. There are talented individuals who never build. There are educated minds who never influence. Why? Because knowledge without energy remains dormant, and talent without courage remains invisible. Civilizations are not moved by potential. They are moved by force of character, by individuals whose inner fire refuses to dim. Energy is the multiplier of ability. Energy is not noise, it is directed force. It is intensity guided by discipline. Two individuals may possess equal intelligence, but the one who applies energy consistently will surpass the passive one. Energy creates momentum. Momentum creates visibility. Visibility creates opportunity. The world responds to motion, not hesitation. Are you conserving your energy or directing it? Because unused power slowly fades. The habit of action. There is a dangerous comfort in preparation without execution, planning without starting, studying without applying, thinking without building. Energy demands movement, not reckless movement, but decisive movement. The self-made individual develops a bias toward action. They refine as they go. They adjust while moving, because action reveals what theory cannot. Courage, the guardian of growth. Growth will confront you with fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of inadequacy, fear of standing alone. Courage is not absence of fear, it is decision despite fear. History's reformers, inventors, leaders were not fearless, they were resolved that discomfort would not dictate destiny. What would you attempt if fear were not deciding for you? Moral courage versus physical courage. Physical courage faces external danger. Moral courage faces internal pressure. It is easy to follow crowds, harder to stand alone. It is easy to remain silent, harder to speak truth respectfully. It is easy to compromise values quietly, harder to maintain integrity publicly. And yet, moral courage shapes societies far more deeply than physical strength, because when integrity collapses, institutions soon follow. The quiet power of integrity. Integrity is alignment between belief and behavior, between word and action, between promise and performance. It is not dramatic, but it is foundational. The individual with integrity builds trust, and trust builds influence. Without trust, no leadership survives, no partnership endures, no reputation strengthens. If someone observed your private behavior, would it match your public image? Because character is who you are when no one benefits from watching. The energy of conviction. Conviction fuels perseverance. When you know why you act, you endure longer. Conviction reduces distraction. It filters options. It strengthens focus. Those without conviction drift between goals. Those with conviction move with purpose. Purpose organizes energy, and organized energy produces impact. Discipline of emotion. Energy must be governed.
Uncontrolled intensity becomes aggression. Uncontrolled passion becomes instability. True strength is not loud, it is controlled, calm under pressure, measured in response, steady in conflict. Emotional discipline separates influence from chaos. Many possess energy, few master it. Resilience under criticism. The more visible you become, the more criticism will appear. Some criticism refines you, some attempts to discourage you. The disciplined individual listens carefully, but does not collapse emotionally. Energy must remain stable. Courage must remain anchored, because every meaningful pursuit invites resistance. If you retreat at the first sign of opposition, you surrender influence. Do you shrink under criticism or grow through evaluation? There is something unmistakable about individuals who carry inner fire. They move with urgency. They speak with clarity. They act with conviction. They do not wait endlessly for approval. They understand that time is limited, and potential unused is opportunity wasted. This fire cannot be borrowed. It must be cultivated through purpose, through discipline, through refusal to settle for mediocrity. Energy and service. The highest form of energy is not self-centered, it is directed towards contribution. When energy serves only ego, it burns out. When energy serves purpose, it sustains itself. History remembers those who applied their strength for something greater than personal comfort, and contribution magnifies influence. Is your energy consumed by distraction or invested in something meaningful? The stability of strong character. In uncertain times, people look for stability, for grounded individuals, for those who do not panic easily. Energy combined with moral strength creates stability. Stability creates leadership, and leadership shapes direction. You may never hold political office, but you hold influence in family, in work, in community, and influence flows naturally from character. Cultivate energy, but discipline it. Develop courage, but anchor it in integrity. Build strength, but direct it towards purpose. Because talent without fire remains cold, and fire without character becomes destructive. But energy guided by moral courage becomes transformative, and transformation begins within.
Responsibility and the architecture of trust. Empires do not collapse overnight. They erode, quietly, through negligence, through carelessness, through small compromises repeated daily. And the same is true for individuals. Reputation is not destroyed in a moment. It is weakened by patterns. Because success is not sustained by talent alone. It is sustained by responsibility. The weight of reliability. In every field, business, leadership, craft, family, there is one quality more valuable than brilliance: reliability. The person who delivers when promised, the person who shows up prepared, the person who completes what they begin. These individuals become pillars, not because they are flawless, but because they are dependable. And dependability builds trust. Reflection pause. If your name were mentioned in a room of opportunity, would the first thought be talent or reliability? Because trust opens doors that talent alone cannot.
Small duties, large consequences. Responsibility is tested in small tasks, arriving on time, managing details, responding promptly, honoring commitments. Many ignore small duties while chasing large ambitions, but large influence grows from small disciplines. Those who cannot manage minor obligations will collapse under major ones. Great structures require strong foundations, and foundations are built quietly. Precision, the discipline of details. History's great commanders, engineers, and builders shared one trait: attention to detail. Precision prevents failure. Accuracy builds confidence. Sloppiness invites collapse. In business and in life, details matter. The letter sent carelessly, the contract reviewed hastily, the promise made lightly. Each carries consequence. Responsibility requires vigilance, not paranoia, but awareness. Reflection pause. Where in your life have you tolerated good enough when excellence was required? Integrity in transactions. Money exchanges hands daily, but beneath every transaction lies something deeper: trust. Trust that words match actions. Trust that agreements are honored. Trust that fairness guides decisions. The disciplined individual protects trust fiercely, because once broken, it is slow to rebuild. Short-term gain purchased through dishonesty creates long-term loss. Integrity compounds like interest. So does deception. The courage to be accountable. Responsibility means ownership. Ownership of results. Ownership of mistakes. Ownership of consequences. It is easy to blame market conditions, colleagues, systems, timing. Harder to ask, what could I have improved? Accountability strengthens authority. Excuses weaken it. Those who accept responsibility grow stronger with every setback. Those who deflect it remain stagnant. Reflection pause. When something fails, do you search for causes or culprits? Because growth begins where excuses end. Structure and order. Discipline creates order. Order creates clarity. Clarity reduces chaos. In business, in leadership, in personal life, systems matter. Schedules matter. Planning matters. The mind freed from disorder can focus on innovation, but the mind drowning in chaos wastes energy. Responsibility demands structure. Structure supports consistency, and consistency builds reputation. Reputation built slowly, lost quickly. Reputation is a silent partner. It walks into rooms before you do. It influences decisions before you speak, and it is constructed through repeated behavior. Years of discipline can elevate a name. One careless decision can damage it. The responsible individual guards their name as carefully as their finances, because reputation is currency, and currency must be protected. Reflection pause. If your daily habits continue unchanged, what reputation are you building? Leadership through example. True authority does not rely on title. It relies on credibility. The responsible leader does not demand standards, they embody them. They do not request punctuality, they demonstrate it. They do not insist on honesty, they practice it. Example strengthens instruction. Hypocrisy weakens it. and people follow consistency far more willingly than commands. The long-term vision. Responsibility requires foresight. It asks, what will this decision look like in 5 years? What habits am I reinforcing? What legacy am I shaping? Short-term thinking sacrifices stability. Long-term thinking builds durability. The self-made individual does not pursue quick wins alone. They build sustainable systems, because lasting success requires durability. Financial responsibility. Money reveals discipline. Spending reveals priorities. Saving reveals foresight. Debt reveals impatience. Financial responsibility is not about wealth alone. It is about control. Control over impulse. Control over desire. Control over ego. The disciplined individual understands freedom increases when obligations decrease, and unnecessary debt limits mobility. Reflection pause. Are your financial decisions expanding your freedom or shrinking it? Service before self-interest. The highest form of responsibility extends beyond personal gain. It considers impact. It considers fairness. It considers contribution. Businesses that endure serve effectively. Leaders who last care genuinely. Responsibility rooted in service builds loyalty. Responsibility rooted in ego invites resistance. Final movement. Responsibility is not glamorous. It is not dramatic. It is steady, predictable, consistent. But from that consistency, trust grows. From trust, influence grows. From influence, opportunity multiplies. Talent may open the first door, but responsibility keeps it open. And the architecture of trust is built one disciplined decision at a time. Wealth, self-control, and the mastery of desire. Money is silent. It does not speak, but it reveals. It reveals priorities. It reveals discipline. It reveals patience. It reveals character. We often think wealth changes people, but more accurately, wealth exposes them. Because money does not create habits, it amplifies the ones already there. The true meaning of wealth. Wealth is often measured numerically: income, assets, possessions. But real wealth begins internally. Self-control, judgment, restraint, the ability to delay gratification. Without these, financial gain becomes fragile. History is filled with individuals who earned fortunes and lost them, not because they lacked intelligence, but because they lacked mastery over desire. Reflection pause. If your income doubled tomorrow, would your discipline double with it, or would your impulses expand? Because growth without control creates instability. Desire, the double-edged force. Desire is not the enemy, it is energy. It fuels ambition, it drives innovation, it inspires achievement. But undisciplined desire becomes destructive. It demands immediate satisfaction. It ignores consequence. It prioritizes appearance over substance. The self-made individual does not eliminate desire. They govern it. They decide which desires deserve action and which require restraint. The power of delayed gratification. There is profound strength in waiting, in saving, in preparing, in building quietly while others consume loudly. Delayed gratification multiplies options. It creates freedom. It creates security. It creates leverage. The impulsive individual trades tomorrow for today. The disciplined individual invests today for tomorrow, and tomorrow eventually arrives. Reflection pause. Are your current financial habits building security or purchasing temporary comfort? Frugality, misunderstood strength. Frugality is not mistaken for limitation, but it is control. It is awareness. It is intentional spending aligned with purpose. The disciplined individual asks, does this expense strengthen my future or weaken it? Money spent carelessly weakens discipline. Money directed strategically strengthens independence. Frugality is not about deprivation. It is about clarity. Debt and psychological weight. Debt is more than financial. It is mental. It restricts movement. It creates pressure. It limits courage. When obligations multiply, freedom shrinks. The self-controlled individual avoids unnecessary chains because independence expands influence, and financial independence amplifies decision-making power. Reflection pause. If opportunity appeared tomorrow, would your financial structure support it or restrict it? Wealth and identity. Some pursue wealth for validation, for status, for comparison. But comparison is unstable. There will always be someone richer, more visible, more celebrated. When wealth becomes identity, peace disappears. But when wealth becomes tool, impact increases. The disciplined individual uses money. They are not used by it. Generosity as strength. True financial mastery includes generosity, not reckless giving, but intentional contribution, because money used only for self narrows perspective. Money used wisely for others expands meaning. History remembers not only the wealthy, but the generous, those who directed resources toward improvement, toward education, toward opportunity. Wealth gains significance when it serves beyond ego. The lifestyle trap. With increasing income comes increasing temptation. Bigger homes, more expensive habits, higher expectations. And slowly, freedom decreases, because expenses rise as fast as earnings. The disciplined individual resists lifestyle inflation. They maintain margin. They maintain simplicity. They protect flexibility, because flexibility is power. Reflection pause. Are you increasing your standard of living or your standard of discipline? Because only one ensures stability. Money and character under pressure. Prosperity tests character differently than hardship. Hardship demands resilience. Prosperity demands humility. Success can distort judgment. It can invite arrogance. It can reduce vigilance. But disciplined individuals remember their principles when circumstances improve. They maintain gratitude. They maintain caution. They maintain integrity. Because wealth without humility precedes collapse. The freedom of self-mastery. The ultimate goal is not wealth alone. It is control. Control over impulse. Control over fear. Control over greed. Control over comparison. When you master desire, money becomes tool. When desire masters you, money becomes a trap. Final movement, Part 8. Build income, build assets, build opportunity. But above all, build discipline. Because financial growth without self-control creates instability, while moderate wealth with strong discipline creates peace. The world admires riches, but history respects restraint. And the individual who governs desire governs direction, and direction determines destiny.
You are influencing people. Right now. Not because you are famous, not because you hold authority, not because you command attention, but because influence is not a position, it is a presence. Every action echoes, every habit teaches, every reaction models something. The question is not whether you influence. The question is, what are you reinforcing? The silent curriculum of example. We imagine education as formal instruction, but most learning happens invisibly. Children imitate tone before they understand logic. Employees mirror culture before they read policy. Communities reflect behavior before they enforce rules. Example travels faster than speech and more permanently. You may never stand behind a podium, but your daily conduct is a curriculum. Teaching, always teaching. Reflection pause. If someone followed you closely for 1 week, what lesson would they learn? About discipline, about integrity, about priorities. Influence without announcement. The most powerful figures in history were not always loud. Many were steady, measured, consistent. Their strength lay not in dramatic declarations, but in reliability. When crises emerged, they remained composed. When others panicked, they remained principled. Influence grows from stability, and stability grows from character. The multiplication effect. One disciplined individual strengthens a family. One principled leader stabilizes a team. One honest professional elevates a workplace. Character multiplies, just as negligence multiplies, just as apathy multiplies, just as dishonesty multiplies. Society is not shaped only by grand reforms. It is shaped by repeated personal decisions made by ordinary individuals. Reflection pause. What kind of culture are you creating in your immediate environment? Strength or complacency? The responsibility of visibility. As you grow, visibility increases. More people observe you. More people measure you. More people respond to you. And with visibility comes weight, because influence magnifies both virtue and flaw. A careless comment from a private individual fades quickly. The same comment from someone respected echoes. The disciplined individual understands this and governs speech accordingly, not from fear, but from awareness. Reflection pause. If your private habits were made public, would your influence increase or weaken? Integrity under observation. There is a difference between reputation and character. Reputation is what others think. Character is what you are. Influence rooted in reputation alone is fragile. Influence rooted in character is durable. Because character does not change based on audience, it remains consistent. Private behavior aligns with public speech, and that alignment builds trust over time. Reflection pause. If correction does not always require confrontation, sometimes the strongest correction is quiet demonstration. Excellence in a mediocre environment creates contrast. Integrity in a dishonest culture creates discomfort. Discipline among the distracted creates awareness. You do not always need to argue. Sometimes you simply need to embody the alternative. Consistency persuades more effectively than aggression. The long shadow of leadership. Leadership is not defined by title.
It is defined by responsibility accepted. Parents lead, teachers lead, managers lead, entrepreneurs lead, older siblings lead, mentors lead, even peers influence direction. The question is not, am I a leader? It is, how am I leading? Through impatience? Through inconsistency? Through integrity? Through service? Because influence leaves a shadow, and that shadow stretches farther than you see. The ripple effect of small decisions. Small habits echo. Showing up on time teaches respect. Listening carefully teaches value. Admitting mistakes teaches humility. Following through teaches reliability. These ripples expand outward, into homes, into organizations, into communities, into generations. History's greatest transformations often began with disciplined individuals who chose character when compromise was easier. Reflection pause. What ripple are you sending outward with your daily decisions? The danger of passive influence. Silence in the face of wrongdoing communicates tolerance. Carelessness in responsibility communicates indifference. Inconsistency in values communicates instability. Even absence shapes culture, which means neutrality is illusion. You are shaping your environment, either intentionally or unintentionally. The disciplined individual chooses intentional influence. Influence rooted in service. The strongest influence is not controlling, it is serving. When others sense that your strength exists not to dominate, but to elevate, trust deepens and influence expands. Service builds loyalty. Authority without service builds resistance. True influence aligns power with care. Final movement, Part 9. You may never know the full extent of your influence. You may never witness the long-term impact of your example. But it exists in conversations, in habits copied, in standards raised, in courage inspired. And when discipline, integrity, and self-control become visible through you, they multiply. Character is contagious. So is mediocrity. Choose which one you transmit, because the ripple you create today may outlive you tomorrow. At the end of ambition, at the end of achievement, at the end of applause, there is only one question that remains. Who did you become? Not what you owned, not what you earned, not what you accumulated, but what your repeated decisions formed within you. Because everything external can be transferred. Money changes hands, titles change holders, positions change occupants. But character stays. The illusion of success. The world often measures success visibly. Status, recognition, influence, wealth. But history quietly reminds us, external success without internal strength collapses. Empires fall, corporations fail, reputations disintegrate. Not because of lack of intelligence, but because of cracks in character. Character is infrastructure, and without infrastructure, even the most beautiful structures collapse. Reflection pause. If everything visible in your life disappeared, what would remain? Integrity? Discipline? Courage? Because that is your true wealth. Character is built in repetition. Character is not formed in dramatic moments alone. It is formed in daily choices. Choosing honesty when deception is easier. choosing restraint when impulse is stronger, choosing patience when frustration rises, choosing responsibility when excuses appear. These micro-decisions accumulate day after day, year after year, and slowly they sculpt identity. You do not rise suddenly, you rise gradually, through repetition. Power tests character. Adversity reveals character, but power tests it. When you gain influence, will you remain humble? When you gain wealth, will you remain disciplined? When you gain recognition, will you remain grounded? Success magnifies tendencies. If pride exists quietly, it grows loudly. If humility exists sincerely, it deepens beautifully. Character must be guarded most carefully when circumstances improve. Reflection pause. Are you preparing your character for the success you desire? Because unprepared character cannot sustain elevation. The strength of self-mastery. Throughout this journey, we have examined discipline, perseverance, industry, self-culture, responsibility, wealth, influence. All of them converge here, in self-mastery. Self-mastery is the ability to govern yourself, your emotions, your reactions, your desires, your ego. It is quiet strength. It is steady presence. It is internal authority. And without it, external authority becomes unstable. The true refinement. The highest form of strength is controlled strength. The highest form of intelligence is ethical intelligence. The highest form of leadership is principled leadership. True refinement is not about appearance. It is about alignment. Between belief and action. Between conviction and conduct. The refined individual does not perform virtue. They practice it, consistently, even when unnoticed. Legacy beyond achievement. One day, every title will fade, every project will be completed, every career will conclude, but influence remains. In children raised, in minds inspired, in standards elevated, in trust preserved. Your legacy will not be your possessions. It will be your impact on people, and impact flows from character. Reflection pause. If someone described you decades from now, what words would you hope they use? Reliable? Principled? Courageous? Disciplined? Kind? Because that description is being written today. The inner victory. There is a form of victory that no one can see. Victory over impatience. Victory over greed. Victory over fear. Victory over laziness. Victory over ego. These victories may never trend, they may never receive applause, but they build the strongest foundation possible: self-respect. And self-respect produces quiet confidence, a confidence not dependent on praise, not shaken by criticism, not inflated by success.
And now, as this chapter closes, the real work begins. Because knowledge alone changes nothing. Listening alone transforms nothing. It is what you apply after the sound fades that shapes your future. Tonight or tomorrow morning, you will face small decisions. Wake up or delay, act or postpone, focus or scroll, speak with integrity or remain silent. And in those small moments, your character will be written, not dramatically, but quietly. Remember, greatness is not built in public. It is built in private discipline. It is built when no one is watching. It is built when excuses feel justified and you choose responsibility instead. If this message challenged you, if it awakened something inside you, then do not let it end here. Commit to growth. Commit to higher standards. Commit to becoming the person your future requires. And if you believe in this kind of content, content that strengthens the mind, content that sharpens discipline, content that builds character, then join this journey with us. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video so it reaches others who need it, and activate the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter in your personal evolution. Because this is not just a channel, it is a movement towards self-mastery, and movements grow when strong individuals stand together. Until the next lesson, stay disciplined, stay intentional, and remember, the person you are becoming is built today, one decision at a time.